Hey guys, so just to wrap up our brief exploration of life force and vitality, there's just a couple more points that I'd really like to explore with you guys and just kind of highlight and make a little bit clearer, I guess. And the first of those points is the understanding that although it is the life force which flows through the body, which gives the body life and the ability to come to life, it is actually the soul itself which animates the body and allows it to move and to express in a particular way. So it's possible to have that life force flowing in a body, and sometimes we see this in people who are in comas and in those kinds of states of being, but it's the soul being present with the body and imbuing the body which gives the body the animation, the ability to, I guess, express in a particular way. So there's life force flowing through this electromagnetic field and our connection into this electromagnetic field which is naturally occurring, and then it is the soul which imbues the body with spirit, with animation, with personality, with oomph, with drive, with motivation. And if you want to explore this topic further, go and visit my multidimensional healing video, because that's where I really talk about the relationship between the soul and the physical body, and the fact that the physical body is a manifestation of a kind of blueprint that already exists at that soul level. But here I'm going to talk about how it is that the soul actually interacts with and animates the physical body in the way that it does. So the soul body interlocks with the physical body through the chakra system. So the chakras are kind of like the energy centers. They're the points in the body that receive information and receive messages, receive input from the soul, so that the physical body can then take that input, take that feed, take that information, take that blueprint that's being expressed and designed at that soul level and make it manifest, make it something into form. So express it through personality or through action or through taking that job or loving this person in this way or expressing your energy in this way. And it's very much the thing that makes us unique, because again, at that soul level, our entire journey through lifetimes on this planet is kind of stored at that level. And our physical bodies are a representation and a manifestation of the collection of all of those experiences. So all of the things that we have learned, all of the things that we have done, but also all of the areas where we've fallen short, the things that we haven't done, which we then need to do in this life, the things that we haven't achieved, which we need to achieve in this life, the things that we haven't yet learned, that we set about to learn in this life. And this body, well, as this body is being formed, it's being formed on the information that is being fed it by the soul. So from that soul level, from that long journeying, ever-existing part of you. And so obviously the soul needs to be interacting with and feeding information into this physical body somehow. And it is through this chakra system. And a lot of you will have heard of and will have even studied the chakra system and may already have a lot of knowledge about this system. But it's just really understanding that the chakras themselves are just the means of communication between the soul and the physical body. And this means of communication, it needs to be clear, it needs to be cleansed, it needs to be raised in vibration so that that communication can be clear. But that's what these centers are for, and that's what these centers are about. They're also responsible for taking that kind of soul energy and emitting it into our energy field. And we'll discuss that a little bit more, a bit further down the track in this video, and kind of energetically expressing us to the world. But mostly they're the receptive centers, receiving that information from the soul so that it can be translated in the physical body into nervous system impulses and then into action. So into health and activity and thoughts and things like that. So there are 7 main chakras in the physical body through which the soul is communicating with the physical body. So we've got at the base level, that chakra, the base level, because all of these chakras are associated with glands. And this is that melding between the spiritual and the physical, because the spiritual plugs into the physical and manipulates and helps to move and give action to the physical. So on that base level, the soul is communicating with us, and you can go further into researching the individual chakras themselves. That's not what I'm going to do in this video. I'm just showing you how that plug-in happens and how that communication occurs. And at that base level, the base chakra is associated with the adrenal glands. So each gland, each chakra associated with a major gland which is responsible for some of the major functions, all the hormonal release and a whole heap of regulatory activity in the body. Everything is tied into the endocrine system and is modulated and moderated and helped and assisted by the endocrine system. So it's no surprise that this is how the soul is communicating with the physical body, through that endocrine system. So we've got the adrenals at the base level. At the sacral level, we're dealing with, for the men, it's the testicles. For the women, it's the ovaries. At the solar plexus level, the soul is communicating with the physical body through the pancreas, so through that particular gland. At the heart level, the soul's communicating with the physical body through the thymus gland. At the throat chakra level, the soul's communicating with the physical body through the thyroid. At the brow chakra level, the soul's communicating with the physical body through the pituitary gland, which is the kind of the mastermind and the master function of all of the other glands in our body. Pituitary gland, vital, like key in there. So it's no surprise that as we move into these higher centers, we tap more and more into these, I guess, more and more vital and more at the core function of the endocrine system, glands that are associated and become more and more core. And then the crown chakra is associated with the pineal gland, And the pineal gland is very much responsible for excreting the hormones that are excreted at the point of life beginning and the point of life ending. But it's also responsible for excreting the hormones that allow us to have the experience of euphoria, well, apparently have the experience of euphoria in points like childbirth. It's also responsible for releasing the hormone. This hormone is the DMT, which allows us to dream and to visualize and to have these kind of expanded inner experiences in meditation and things like that. So that's kind of makes sense as well. As we move up, it becomes more and more expanded and more kind of ethereal and more connecting us with that inner spiritual reality and that spiritual version of the self. And that's just the way that these glands progress. And it's through these glands, so by the soul being able to tap in through the chakra system into these glands, that our bodies are able to be animated in the way that they are, and we are able to express in the way that we express. And we're all unique. We're so unique in the way that we express, and that's because those messages that we're receiving, because of the experiences that we've had as souls, are so unique. So unique. And just what I want to share here is that those messages are received by the endocrine system, and those messages move through the endocrine system, but those messages are then directly translated into the nervous system. So they're received, those messages, that information, that input is received as electrical impulses on that nervous system level. And that causes all sorts of things. It causes things to, neurons to fire and action to be able to be taken on a physical level. So it's literally movement. but it's also peristalsis in the gut. It's also neural pathways being created in the brain. It's health. It's our ability to act and respond. It's the messages that are sent to every single one of the cells in our body. So whatever's occurring at that soul level, and the messages that are being received from that soul level are going through the chakras, into the associated glands, through the endocrine system, and are being received as physical, vital, electrical impulses that flow through our nervous system and cause impulses, cause movement, cause progress, cause cell division and cells not dividing, and all of that activity is being monitored by the nervous system. And then through the nervous system, particular messages are being sent to particular glands, particular organs in the body, and it becomes more and more specified as it kind of flows in from that nervous system level. But so a really vital thing when we look at this and when we kind of explore health, and particularly if we're exploring integrated health that considers the spiritual self, the health of the endocrine system and the nervous system is vital. It's so vital. It's so key. It's such a cornerstone of all of the healing that we do as naturopaths, naturally, because those particular systems are so regulatory and so important in all aspects of health. When we're looking at it in this kind of spiritual way, if we want to be progressing spiritually and maturing spiritually, and we want to be able to communicate with ourselves on that spiritual level, and we want to be able to expand, and we want to be able to understand, and we want to have that rich inner reality, and we want to be able to develop and to grow in a spiritual way, then those communication centers, that communication needs to be able to flow freely, which means supporting the endocrine system and the nervous system. And I'll do another video about this later on, looking at the specifics of how we look after and nurture the endocrine system and the nervous system to achieve that optimal health and to achieve that optimal communication. But I just wanted to make that clear, that it's the life force that allows life to happen, but this body isn't necessarily moving, even though life force is flowing through it. It's not necessarily animated, it's not necessarily expressing or doing without the soul's input. And it's the soul, it's the individual souls which bring that really unique flavor, that really unique expression, and that understanding of what it is that is to be achieved in each lifetime, in each life form, in each life flow. All of that information is being inputted from these higher levels, so from the soul. And of course some of it's already programmed into the DNA, because these bodies are built of that stuff, built of the spiritual impressions. But for us to be in that constant flow and that constant communication, so we can be constantly upgrading and keeping up with what's going on those higher levels, those communication channels need to be kept open, and they need to be kept clear. And I don't mean forcing them open. It's through psychological clarity and the achievement of health that these centers open. But it takes hard work. It takes devotion. It takes dedication. I mean, devotion to the spiritual self and to having that as the experience. And it's letting yourself go through this process of psychological clarity, clearing out the negative thought patterns, the old pains, old traumas, and literally raising your light quotient, so your vibration, raising that energetic vibration of all of the body. And I've spoken about this in a previous video as well, raising the vibration of the cells themselves. That's going to allow you to achieve the opening of these channels. This forcing of the channels open is dangerous, because it tempts to put you somewhere where you are not, and you're never going to be able to hold it. If you are forcing yourself to be more achieved spiritually than what you actually are, then the foundation that you are building that upon is going to crumble, and it's going to cause you long-term damage. on a spiritual level, but on a physical level as well, because you're forcing open centers and you're forcing centers to act in a particular way that physically, biologically, you're not prepared for, and you're going to blow something out. And we've seen this happen. We see ones on the spiritual path attempting to achieve more than what they are actually ready for, and they cause themselves harm. Things blow up, things fizzle, things pop, things grow cancers. It's not a good look. So it's through hard work and diligence, but being mature about what you're doing and how you're going about this, keeping up with what is actually appropriate, but never forcing yourself to be somewhere that you're not. And that's why the psychological clarity is so important, because that's what allows you to be here and to actually go through the process of raising your vibration and preparing all of your bodies for whatever it is that's coming next. And that's vital. That preparation is vital. But on that physical level, taking care of the endocrine system and the nervous system is important. And if you are attempting to communicate with yourself on that soul level, and you are attempting to live more kind of spiritually oriented, then the chances are is that you're going to have a lot more input flowing in through these centers. And so there can sometimes be exhaustion that happens in the endocrine and the nervous system level. And that's an important thing to manage and to be aware of, so that you can take care of yourself and again keep that input of the soul flowing. And this moves us on to my next point that I want to make here. So I want to talk about the heart. So when we study the chakras and we look at ancient writings about the operations of the chakras and how the different glands perform particular work based on the input that they receive from that kind of energetic or spiritual level, the heart center is associated, or has been associated, with creating and emitting, transmitting an electromagnetic field. So in our previous video, we talked about how we take up that electromagnetic field from nature, and it begins to feed out into our etheric and our energetic bodies and begins to take up a presence there. And what I'm going to suggest here is that it's when we take up that electromagnetic field, when we take up that life force, it's in the heart center that this life force kind of melds with the soul force, so with the energy of the soul. There's a melding that happens in the heart center, and it creates this kind of vortice or a vortex. And a lot of this ancient spiritual texts talk about, and even scientific, kind of recent scientific texts talk about the importance of the vortice. So the vortice is like a swirl. It's energy moving in a swirling motion. And there's this belief and this understanding that it's the vortice, so that swirling shape which occurs over and over and over and over and over in nature, which is the foundation of all of our existence here on this planet. It's kind of like the key. It's kind of like the foundation that everything is built upon and everything is built of. It's that vortice, it's that shape, it's that swirling, that constant swirl. And our galaxy itself, big swirling galaxy moving in a vortice. And what happens at the heart center, I'm suggesting, is that when this life force and this soul force meet, there's this vortice that is created. There's this swirling motion that is created. And again, in ancient spiritual texts, they talk about the healing vortice which exists within the heart. So in esoteric terms, we're going to talk about the energetic component of that, which is the heart chakra itself, creating this kind of vortice which allows the melding of these two energies and allows the life force to expand out into our etheric field, and allows the soul energy to be fused with this life force on a physical level, and then to kind of be pumped through our body. And that's where the uniqueness of our energetic imprint comes from. So we're not just taking up life force as it exists in nature and then being exactly like nature, we're putting our unique soul print, our unique soul experience and our unique soul expression on that life force, and they're swirling together and then expanding out into our field, into our energetic field, and expressed into the environment around us. And I just want to take that a step further and bring it in even deeper, bring it in even closer, and suggest that perhaps in the physical human heart, there's a similar process occurring, the healing vortice of the heart. So something that I think it was Leonardo da Vinci observed, he made a little mold, a little structure copy of the human heart, and something that he discovered when he was going through this process of, I guess, replaying the motion of the heart and what it is that exactly the heart is doing. What he discovered is that as the blood enters into the heart, there's this kind of swirling vortice that's created in the left ventricle. So the pressure of the blood entering the heart creates this kind of suction action, is what I'm suggesting here. Perhaps this may be what's going on. The pressure of the blood moving into the heart is creating almost like a suction motion, which creates these vortices that Leonardo da Vinci observed in his little model of the heart. And that's that swirling. It's the vortice, it's the vortex that we see occurring over and over and over in nature. It's the foundation of life. And Leonardo didn't really know what to make of these vortices, of this vortex that's occurring in the heart. But when we look to ancient texts and we look to spirituality and that esoteric understanding of things, we can come to suggest that perhaps what's occurring in the physical human heart is a healing vortex. And perhaps what's happening, perhaps one of the functions of the human heart is to take energy, is to take this life force and very deliberately direct it in a way that's going to bring about healing for the body. And what has been suggested, and what I'm suggesting here, is that there's over 50 of these vortices that occur in the human heart. Each time that contraction and that release happens, these vortices are being created, 50 of them, and then they're released out into the body. And what we're suggesting is that these vortices may be the action of the heart taking up nutrients, taking up particular kinds of cells, the good stuff, the juicy stuff that's going to allow the body to heal. So if you've got a cut on your leg, then in the heart itself, through this kind of vortex motion, collagen cells and red blood cells and the nutrients that are required for you to heal that cut in your leg are being pulled together into this vortex and then being released out into the body, and that energy, those particular cells that have been accumulated together into that particular vortex, is being received by that cut on your leg. And one of those other vortexes might be collecting up old red blood cells that are ready to be processed out and sending that off to the pancreas to be sorted out. So perhaps there's more of this kind of sorting house, this sorting out of the cells, this dividing and this grouping of the cells that's occurring in the human heart that allows healing to happen on the physical level. And these vortices are being sent out to all different parts of the body depending on the function of that particular part of the body, the function of that organ, what's required here, what nutrients are needed here, what particular cells are needed here. And the heart may be playing a role in distributing these cells through the physical body, perhaps enabling some process of healing that we haven't yet understood, or at least supporting some process of healing. So that's pretty wonderful to think of, that the heart may be the physical human heart, maybe a lot more intelligent than we think it is. Maybe doing a lot more than just going boom, 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 and just moving the blood through, but may actually be flavoring that blood, infusing that blood with the cells and with the nutrients and with whatever it is that these particular parts of the body require, and then sending that blood out, that rich blood in those separate vortices, sending that blood out to the tissues and the organs where they're required through the body. I think that's wonderful. And I just want you to sit with that, to be with that, to feel into that, and see how it might begin to alter and plant new seeds about how you relate with your physical body, and how your physical body relates with nature, and how you relate with your spiritual body and that higher vibrational aspect of you. And where are you perhaps blocking that communication? Where can you open that communication more? Where can you be even more deeply exploring your relationship with nature and your relationship with your physical body as well? Because I think we just take for granted that these bodies are, I guess, simple. I know they're complex in their structure, but that it's just simple kind of mechanical processes happening on a cellular level that, yeah, they're interesting, but they just keep happening and they just keep occurring. But there's life force in these things. There's true intelligence. There's very deliberate, very precise activity, which is very intelligent, occurring on the cellular level. And I think it would go a long way for all of us and in our healing journeys if we could spend more time appreciating the physical body and appreciating the processes that are occurring on the physical level, and questioning what's occurring on the physical level, and questioning and exploring how the physical relates with the outside world and with nature and with our environment and with the foods that we eat and where we place ourselves and with the thoughts that we have and with the emotions that we feel. And if we paid more attention and started to bring more love, more of our love and our appreciation to the physical processes that are occurring, but by really beginning to understand and explore the relationship between these physical biological processes, which are seemingly mechanical, with life force and intelligence and energy itself, and with nature itself. There's a lot that we could learn about ourselves. And I'm not saying throw away everything that we thought we knew about the physical body. We stay with what we know about the physical body, but we bring our consciousness deeper and explore what else could potentially be going on here. How can I relate with this physical body and with this physical process in a new way, in a more open-minded way? And just sit with that. See where that leads you.